Former Georgian President Mikhail Saakashvili was freed by his supporters on Tuesday, only hours after authorities detained him. Masked Ukrainian officers took Saakashvili into custody in his apartment building in the capital Kiev earlier on Tuesday, as protesters outside the building rallied in his support. Saakashvili at one point even climbed on the apartment building's rooftop to address supporters. The van in which authorities attempted to drive him away from the scene was blocked by protesters, who held up for hours. Saakashvili was eventually freed and repeated his calls for protests against current Ukrainian President Poroshenko. "I urge you to start a peaceful protest to remove Poroshenko, you should not be afraid of anything," he told the crowd, according to Reuters. Tuesday's high-tension drama is the latest episode in the unlikely political rise and subsequent fall of a now stateless former president. Both celebrated and feared, the staunch anti-Russian politician built political careers in two different countries, but may now be facing charges in both of them. It was not immediately clear why Saakashvili had been detained, although Ukrainian media reported on Tuesday that he may have been preparing a coup to overthrow Poroshenko's government or could be accused of covering up criminal activities. Ukraine also has a history of imprisoning political opponents such as former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko, and Saakashvili's critics immediately questioned the real motives behind his attempted detention, especially since he had just announced plans to campaign against his former ally, Poroshenko. Saakashvili, who served as Georgia's president for almost a decade, left his country in 2013 to accept a teaching engagement in the United States. By the end of his presidency, he was widely reviled in Georgia, where many blamed him for a mismanaged justice system and the 2008 war with Russia that left the Georgian military humiliated and weakened. In the months leading up to his electoral defeat, mass protests swept the country. Saakashvili's political career had come to an end, but only in Georgia. Shortly afterward, protests in Ukraine toppled then-President Viktor Yanukovych, who fled to Russia. Saakashvili sensed an opportunity and became active in Ukrainian politics, where the conflict with Russian-backed separatists in the east bore striking similarities with the Georgian conflict. Saakashvili's anti-Russian credentials and his alliance with the new president, Poroshenko, saw the former Georgian leader launch a second political career as he was granted Ukrainian citizenship. As governor of the Ukraine's Odessa province, Saakashvili soon emerged as one of the country's most popular politicians. Yet within a year, his projects had stalled, and he resigned, claiming interference in his anti-corruption efforts. Since then, Saakashvili has essentially acted in opposition to his former allies. His Ukrainian citizenship was revoked earlier this year while he was outside the country, likely to prevent any further political ambitions on his part. Then, in perhaps one of the more dramatic political returns in recent memory, he re-entered the country with the help of supporters who burst through a police line at the Polish border.